here's the original. This is done on an 11, I think this is an 11 by 14. Yes, this is a 11 by 14 media pad. So that's what I did my original on. Let's see if I can scoot you guys down just a tiny bit. So I'm gonna prop that back over here as reference. These are the colors for it. So pretty similar to the other Nativity. There's not much difference other than the dark blue. So dark blue, pure gold, I didn't use that other metallic. Burnt umber, black, white, golden sunset, cloudless, and sun-kissed peach. So those are your colors. I'm gonna start with these three. Let me just get my palette loaded up here. So I thought since I had a little extra time today, I'd go ahead and give you guys both in one day. That way you can choose what your favorite one is. And I love the simplicity of both of these. So I'm getting plenty of blue and white and black. All right, so we're going in. I just used 2 brushes on this one. So I'm just gonna use a big 1-inch wash and a number 2. Ignore the outline of the truck on the canvas. This was an extra, so I'm gonna use it. So we're gonna start with blue and white. I got both on there, and we know that we want this to be the center, and I love the combination of white and the dark blue together. It makes the prettiest like baby blue color. So as always, you want to have plenty of paint on your brush. It shouldn't be streaking for you or hard to get to move around your canvas. It should glide nice and easy. That's how you know you have the right amount of paint in there. So I'm gonna start real light here in the middle. This is where the manger is going to be. So I want this to be the lightest part. Hold on, I got some dry paint on here. And then I'm just gonna start going into my dark blue and just work my way out. And we'll kind of be going back and forth a little bit here. I love backgrounds like this because they're super easy and you don't have to worry too much about what your brush strokes look like. The style of it is meant to be crazy brush strokes all over the place. So I'm just working and getting all that extra paint out of my brush because I want to pick up a little bit more white. See how you can work from the center again and just kind of pull some of those lighter brush strokes out. So tell me, some of you guys were talking about seeing some angels in the original. Where were you seeing that at? Were you seeing it in the brush strokes above the manger? So I'm just going to keep going with our blue here. And now I'm going to start getting some black with my blue. You don't want too much because you don't want it to overpower. But you see how much darker that is, almost like a navy. And I got pretty dark around the edges. Did everyone get to watch the first Nativity video? I did that one this morning. Now we're doing this one. so I can work on editing the videos tomorrow and getting them up on the website. Yeah, right above the manger, that's what I was thinking. Kind of cool how brush strokes can kind of give that visual effect. So you guys see how I'm just getting darker around the edges? I'm going to go ahead and paint my sides here. All right, so I'm going to rinse all that out because I don't want any of that black in there, because I'm going to streak underneath here to make the snow. So I'm just going to go in to my regular white here and just kind of pull across the bottom. So I'm going across the wet paint because I'm going to pull some of that down in to the snow to give it shading. This is why I love doing snow scenes. It's super easy to just pull that sky color right down into your snow. It makes for a very smooth, easy transition. So you have just a little bit of, we'll add a little bit more blue down there. Just back and forth, plenty of paint in your brush so you get these nice long brush strokes. The longer brush strokes you do, the less start and stop you see. If that makes sense. So I've got a little bit, I think I'm gonna straighten this out just a little bit here. Maybe add a little darker towards this edge. I know I'm gonna have some trees on the edges. Can go ahead and add a little bit of shadowing in there. So that is our base, but I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna wipe the excess off there. I'm still gonna come back and play with this sky a little bit more. I'm going to blow dry this just to get it a little bit drier so I can put that second coat on there. So it's not completely dry, but I dropped a little something there. But it's dry enough for me to start going on that second coat. So a little bit lighter here in the middle, maybe a little bit more blue in there. I don't want it completely white. The second coat is where you really get that pretty like feathering that created that look that you guys were talking about. So right here, all the little brush strokes that kind of drift up like that, you're able to do that on the second coat because you've already got your base down there, and then you can just pull those brush strokes and just kind of feather them out as you go. Maybe we'll get some more angels in this one. picking up a little bit more blue the further out I go. I'm just going back and forth. But you see how I don't have a ton of paint in there because I don't need as much on my second coat. And you get that really pretty, like, feathery effect. So we do 2 coats on the blue because it's so see-through, transparent, a more technical term. So can you guys see the difference of that feathery effect that I get with my second coat? Now I'm going to start going into more just straight blue out here. And where it meets, I like to go back with a little white just to smooth that transition out a little bit more. Now we'll start going into the bluish black. And I added some extra black around the edges just to kind of give it that like vignette style. We're going to be putting some trees over here anyways. But again, we're making the focal point all about the manger in the middle of the painting. So by darkening our sides, our eye is naturally drawn to that center. So just get a little blue and black. Uh-oh. Got a little dot of black there. Pull a little more blue up here in this corner. So this is just done to preference. I'm going to get some of the black out of my brush. Maybe grab a little bit of the white back in there. So I'm just lightly brushing that over. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my trees. The trees are super simple. Just loading up my black and a little bit of blue on there, and I'm just going to start over here. This brush is a little more spread out than what I wanted. I may switch brushes. Sometimes this is an older brush. I may have to switch brushes, we'll see. I might be able to get the brush strokes I want. So I'm just kind of stamping down, and you can see if I lay it down kind of at this angle, I get those skinnier brush strokes. If it was flat down, and depending on the pressure I put down on it, kind of determined what those brush strokes were like too. So I'm just kind of going back and forth with my blue and black here. I'm gonna get more black the higher I go. So I'm still holding it sideways, and then when I get towards the top, I'm turning it vertical so that I can get that point at the top of the tree, and then you can just slowly angle back down. Get a little more black in here. You can see, you can just kind of keep playing with this. I love these kind of trees though. I'm gonna get a little blue, a couple areas here. And a little bit more, holding it at the tip. You can kind of decide how big or tall you want that, how thick you want it. And we may come back, we'll let it dry and see what we think. So I'm gonna jump over here to the other side. And these are a lot darker. I have one big one. It's kind of off the edge of the canvas here. Here, we'll give ourselves a little guide. And that bottom is gonna kind of fade in here. I'm gonna do two little small ones. Very small. All right, so I'm gonna wipe some of my black and blue out of there and go to just a little bit of blue here. I've still got some black in there, I didn't rinse it. Just to kind of pull some of that darkness over here. And come back and do the same thing over on this side. All right, so we've got our sides done. I am gonna get some, burnt umber. And we're gonna decide where we want, this is about center. I want it, the peak just a little bit higher than that, about right there. So we'll say about right there. Put a little dot. And then I'm just going to angle out. This is just to get my basic structure down. I'm gonna grab some of my burnt umber and a little bit of black. I want there to be an overhang here, so I don't want that to go to that point. So now I'm just gonna extend the width of this, and I just do this by going back and forth until it's where I want it to be. I'm gonna grab a little bit of white with my burnt umber. So just pushing the brush back and forth. You can see the bristles kind of flare out. Smooth my edges up. I'm not worried about this, it's going to be covered up. Jump over and do the same thing over here. Okay, just like that. Then we'll come and we'll make this a little thicker. And this doesn't matter a lot because you're going to be putting like the hay over top of it that I had there. So now we've got our basic shape down. And I came down here and added some brown down here in the snow. You can decide how far down you want that to come. I just want a little area over here where it is. A little darker on the sides over here. Pull that back over the top. And I'm going to grab a little bit of that golden sunset color and kind of streak that in to the wood as well. So I'm leaving that in there. I'm getting brown and white. Like I said, I still have a little bit of that golden sunset in there. That's fine. So I'm just going to start kind of doing X's over the top of this. And they're going to overlap. We're going to come back and add some more. You want it to be messy. You don't want to actually see the X's. You just want to see a bunch of lines. But that's just an easy way for you to think of doing it. And I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I add any more highlight colors to it. So just staying with those same colors, we're just going to come down here and make our manger. And we're just doing an X. Little smiley face in the middle. you know what? I realized in this version, I did not close in my manger. I left it an X. I may come back and change that. So we're gonna do, we'll go ahead and do Joseph's body. I'm already in the brown. So it's just kind of like a little curved shape. We're gonna start here. It's gonna overlap the manger just a little. So just kind of a, almost like a little ghost shape. We'll kind of flare that out a little bit more. I'm not worried about the top as much because I'm going to come back and put the headdress part over top of that. All right, so I'm going to rinse that. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more. I've got my golden sunset here. I'm going to start doing my little X's for the hay. And again, we just want messy. Maybe throw just a tiny bit. Oh, that was not the color I wanted. Pick a little bit of brown just to kind of mix that in just a tad. So just kind of laying some messy X's over top of each other. Let me grab a little bit more of my golden sunset here. So just messy little brush strokes there for the top. Now we're going to jump over to Mary, and she's kneeling, so she's not going to be as tall. So we'll have her kind of come to about right here. And this is not going to be the top. I'm going to add a little bit of height to her when I come back and add her veil on. I want this to go out just a little bit so it looks a little separate from the gown. Kind of crooked across the bottom. So you can see it's picking up a little bit of that wet paint underneath, but I'm fine with that because I don't want it to look bright, bright white. And then we're going to take some brownish black, and I'm just going to pull a little curved line across that top edge. Or not edge, but top. And you can use a skinny brush if you need to for that. So I'm going to jump over here and do Mary. Again, we're going to make her just slightly higher here. Her veil does not have to lay in any certain way. I'm adding just a little bit, tiny little bit of that burnt umber to my white just to tone it down a little bit again so it's not too bright. I think I'm going to do a second coat of the teal on her. So what do you guys think? Should I leave it solid or should I, like in the original, I just left it open. I think I kind of like it open more. So I might go back and try to fix that. You guys can comment and let me know what you think. All right, I think I'm going to come back and fix that in the center there. It's bugging me. So I want to try to match that color I have behind there. So I'm just going to do this. It's going to look messy at first. Until I paint back over it. But I want to do it this way so you can't tell when it's finished where it started and stopped. So this is kind of an important thing for you guys to see too. If you do something that you're not happy with, all you have to do is let it dry and you can come back and fix anything. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of my burnt umber now. Just pull that right back over. Just like that. And then I've got that curve that comes down here. And I'm going to pull Joseph's robe back over the top of that. There we go. Yeah, I like it better with the open. So I'm going to grab I've got a little streak of that mustard in here. Grab a little white, a couple streaks of that. So I'm just very lightly dragging it across. I'm not pushing down very hard. Just like that. I think I'm going to make my hay just a little bit taller over here. I got to come back and add baby Jesus in there. So I'm going to let that dry for just a little bit. We're going to jump up here to the top again and start adding in some little more of these sloppy X's that are going to overlap each other up here. This is kind of like in that light mocha color. It's just a mixture of the burnt umber and white. We want to leave that dark behind too, so we don't want to completely cover that up. And then I'm going to come with some white and just add a couple little brush strokes here and there with the white. So for your snow, you can use your brush with your bristles and just add some little dots of snow in wherever you want. So I'm just changing the pressure I have, how hard I'm pushing down when I'm doing this, so that I get different sizes. And I want to try to stagger them so they're not too perfect, not too thought out. So I think we'll leave it about like that, maybe one, a little bit more there. So if you want to, for this step, you could switch to a skinnier brush, like a detailed brush. I'm going to grab just the tiniest amount of that metallic gold to do our star with. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to do it with white first and cover it in metallic gold. So I've got some white in here, and we are just going to pull this straight down. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit more, just so I have a little, almost like a, I like the skinny little tail at the end of it. So we're doing a little cross. And then we will do an X in the middle. So I'm going to leave it like that for right now and let that dry. And then I'm going to come back and add some gold over top of it. So we're going to jump down here and do the little body baby Jesus here. We're going to cover this back up with hay. And then I'm going to get some of that skin tone, peachy color that I have. And these are just little semicircles. Got a little too much water in my brush on that one. So you guys probably can't see that. I'm getting a glare on there. Does that help? So you can kind of see what that is like there up close. Excuse me. So now we'll jump back in to that golden sunset, tiny bit of brown. Got a little bit of both on there. And we're just going to add a couple little brush strokes back over so it pulls that back on top of him. I'm going to put a little extra white. I see a couple spots where my teal is showing through, so I'm going to put a little more white over here. Take a little burnt umber, just very slightly outline a little bit. I'm going to blend that in. I don't want it to be quite that drastic. So you can just smooth that out if it gets a little darker than what you want. Add a little bit more white over here to him. And I'm going to streak just a tiny bit. And we're going to jump back up to the top here. I'm just going to overlap that white. You can still see some of the white showing through, but not all of it. All right, just like that. And I think we are finished. There we go. Alrighty, hope you guys enjoyed that. And I can't wait to see everybody's nativities that they create.